too. Living long been here for you on Comics. Comics TV. Comics TV. Comics TV. Comics TV. Fantasy and little me. What's it gonna be now? Alternative, mainstream too. Here every week for you on Comics. Comics TV. Comics TV. Comics TV.
Hi and welcome to Comics TV. We're your weekly guide to the comic book universe. I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Steve Przybyla, and each and every week we bring you the newest, hottest, up-to-date comics out there in the market.
So let's kick off today's show with our weekly comics news.
Topping this week's comic news, sales data for June shows Marvel leading the pack with 30.17% market share. DC comes in at second at 20.6%, followed by Image, Valiant, and Dark Horse. The superhero genre is the most dominating with 76.81% market share, followed by Fantasy with 2.50%, and lastly, April 68.86% of the books scheduled to ship that month shipped.
Some interesting information off the internet from Peter A. David, current Aquaman writer. David has Aquaman losing a hand and having it replaced by a harpoon/spear. I realize that to some degree I'm cashing in a lot of goodwill chips on this one, he says. I hope folks will stick with me. His reasons for doing this are A, thematic, B, visual, C, something to goose interest in the character. He also notes that orders should be placed early. I am going on the presumption that retailers will follow their usual practice and not only lowball the initial orders, but cut the orders by 30 to 40% for issue number 2, which will make that issue, wherein he actually loses the hand, damn near impossible to find.
As was reported several weeks back, comics industry luminary Jim Shooter and Super Bowl legend Franco Harris, both Pittsburgh hometown heroes, held an event to help get unregistered guns off the streets on Saturday, May 21st at Edis Entertainment in Pittsburgh. Each gun surrendered was to get the bearer a Harris autographed football and the latest 5 issues of Good Guys, autographed by Shooter, in what we deem rather unfortunate, only 11 guns were surrendered. The event attracted major medias as CNN and UPI. Both carried the story.
To wrap up our news for this week, we have news on quite a few companies that have apparently folded. Axis Comics, the Larry Stroman, Todd Johnson company that produced the Tribe comic, has closed shop before even starting. Reasons include too much business-related activities for them to handle. They said that they will be releasing their Tribe comic. Unfortunately, all the other comics they had planned under their Axis imprint will no longer be available. Other companies on the out and out apparently include Dagger Comics, which according to reports has ended publication and left many of its creators in the dark. Lastly, no news from Majestic since they said they were taking a couple months to reorder their business practices and finances. So far we haven't heard anything for them. It appears that they may have gone under also. And that's it for the comics news this week.
Okay, and now for the mainstream review. As I throw in every couple weeks, I do a book that people see quite often. So we're going to try to stop that, but hey, this week I'm doing a book but it's got a counter book to go with it, and that's the only reason I'm doing it. But I'm doing Spawn number 21. If you notice, they skipped issue 19 and 20. Those are being released later. This is the one where Todd McFarlane came back and drew for him. Publisher is Image. Todd McFarlane is the writer and the artist, and Mark Pennington is the inker. Cost is $1.95. New storyline for the Spawn. And his friend Bobby, he has to confront the mob. But do they know what they're really dealing with? I don't think so. The story was good. The dialogue was good. The art was excellent. The interest level was excellent. Action level was okay. Realism was okay. Humor was okay. Color was excellent. Target audience, Spawn fans. Because like they said, this series is starting to draw out too. It's starting to pick up the same storyline overall. The overall grade in this, I'm just giving a good. Leading into a new storyline called The Violator, number 1. The story is by Alan Moore, pencils by Bart Sears, inks by Mark Pennington. It's $1.95 from Image Comics. New series with that lovable little guy called The Violator. And when the mob hires the Indominisher to kill the Violator, his buddies that are in another time world are watching this whole thing. And they say, gee, let's just pop in and say hi to our buddy, the Violator. Well, everything straight down the line is excellent in this book, from the artwork right up to the dialogue story. Everybody should collect this book. This book was phenomenal. It's funny, tough to find though right now. My overall grade on that one is excellent. For my third book this week, I'm going with Prime, number 11 from Malibu. Len Straczewski and Jared Jones are the writers. Tom Eldred is the artist, and Keith Conroy is the inker. It sells for also $1.95. Prime finally finds out his true origin and where he came from and began his new life as Prime. Now, in case anybody doesn't know or anybody doesn't follow the series, Prime is a 16-year-old boy who has a substance that gets on him and turns him into this powerful, older superhero. Really weird storyline, but really neat. The story of this one was excellent. The dialogue was excellent. The art was absolutely excellent. Interest level excellent. Realism excellent. Action excellent. Excellent right down. Target audience, all Ultraverse fans and first-time collectors should start out with this one. My overall grade is a excellent, and it's a definite buy. And for my last part, this one I sort of went a little bit further. Knight's End, part 1 through 6 from DC. Some of the artists are Dixon, Nolan, Hannah, McCain. There's just so many to go through right now. I can't even go through them. Cost is anywhere from $1.75 to $2.50 because they have the Robin series, the Catwoman series, Tales of the Dark Knight, and the Batman series. All of them are connected. This is the final series, the final storyline of the Mantle of the Bat. Who will claim it and who will possibly leave the story? Will it be the old Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, which is now the new Batman, or Bruce Wayne, or Robin, or Nightwing, or Catwoman? Who is going to claim the Mantle of the Bat? The storyline on this one is so different than the other ones. It's absolutely excellent. It goes right down the line. The overall grade on this one was excellent. All of the artwork is phenomenal, except for issue 3. It's different. But I'm still going to give it an excellent. If you could pick up, right now there's 7 parts out, not 6. I only have 6 to review. But there's 7 parts out. Pick them up and follow it. It is phenomenal. And that's it for Mainstream this week.
My first book today is called Trapman. It's number 1 from Phantom Comics. Let's take a look at an interview that was done with the creator, Peter Mealy.
Well, there are lots of comic books around, but it is a different business than most of us remember. It's sold mostly at specialty stores rather than drug and grocery stores these days. The old dime price is also a thing of the past. And the dream of being the creator of a nationally syndicated comic strip is one seldom realized, unless you happen to be a Minnesotan by the name of Peter Mealy. We met Peter at one of those specialty stores, The Source in Falcon Heights. The occasion was the June release of his 4-year dream, the now nationally syndicated Trap Man. Just what does it take to accomplish such a thing?
I was driven to write this. You have to be driven. Most people, of course, with common sense, will give up on a project that is impossible.
To illustrate his stories, Peter needed the finest cartoonists, and he got the help of Minnesota artists who work on such strips as Spider-Man, Star Trek, Star Wars, and Martian Chronicles. But Trap Man is a hero of a different sort.
He got his name from setting traps in Vietnam. And when he came back, he tried to get a job, but it was very difficult because of the crime situation. So his partner Joey says, if you try to do something about the crime in this area, you're just going to get yourself killed. And Trapman said, I don't have anything to lose. I'd rather be dead than live in a town like this the way that it is. And when he starts to do something about it, other people see that something can be done, and they join in with him and help him, like his black pal, Street Genius, who makes equipment for him to help him overcome crime, and things work out.
One of the characters, Street Genius, is patterned after Peter's good friend, Ephraim Freeman. How does it feel to be the subject of a comic strip character?
It feels great. I believe in the particular character that we're talking about, which is called Street Genius, and I've been a friend of Peter's for about 4 years, and I'm sold.
Also sold is the man who's turning Trap Man into a game. He's Dave Arneson, creator of the enormously successful Dungeons and Dragons.
I believe there's an excellent opportunity for Trap Man to be just as successful as Dungeons and Dragons has been.
And it's for sale right now, the June issue.
Okay, the writer, as you saw, was Peter Mealy. Artist Paul Frick and the inker Gordon Purcell. It's $2.95. Trapman and his young cohort Joey don costumes to fight crime and the evil rat boy in Hope City. The story is good on this one. The dialogue is good. It's a little choppy. The art is very good. Interest level is good. The action level is very good. Realism and humor are both good. It's very good in the color department, as it is a full color comic. It looks like that this is a kind of book that might appeal to someone who likes the old Batman Robin kind of teams, the old ones from maybe the 70s, because this is like a classic team. It's high tech in their weaponry and such, but the book itself and the team concept, the way it's written, is very good. Trapman creator Peter Mealy has plans for video games, movies, TV, novels, and the original Dungeon and Dragon creator Dave Arneson is working on a Trapman role-playing game. He believes in this storyline immensely. In addition, there was a 2-part radio show done on the book. It was actually on the first story, and at the end of the show, we will give you a little preview of that. It's an interesting book, and it has a lot of promise. I'd look for this one, and I don't believe you're going to be able to find it anywhere. You can either write to us here, or if you can find Advanced Comics or Previews that has it in there, look for it. It's from Phantom Comics. My second book today is called Detroit Murder City Comics. A little twist on Motor City. This is issue number 3 from Detroit Murder City Comics. Kent Myers and Rick Metcalf create this book. It's an interesting book at $2.50. Basically, it's a robust, rollicking, oft-biting, but never bitter satirical peek into the fascinating world of America's foremost urban center of industrial strength decay. It has been praised by the critics as uncompromising, coveted by its readers, and it has been officially condemned by the city of Detroit's mayor's office as futile. Basically, what these are a couple people who used to live in Detroit. They moved to San Francisco. They're writing stories about Detroit now, and they're pretty funny. Stories are good. There's like 3 or 4 stories. The stories are good. The art is good. The dialogue's good. Everything's good. It's a black and white book. It's definitely towards adults. There's a few stories that kids might enjoy, or older teenagers or such. It's a humor book, and it's an interesting look at the Detroit scene, comics, comics-wise and crime-wise. So those are mine for this week.
Okay, this week I'm reviewing some cards called DC Comics Edition Skybox Masterpieces. Now, last week we sort of reviewed these cards, but I got a chance to really sit down and take a look at them, and I'll tell you what, these cards are phenomenal. These are almost as good as the Marvel Masterpieces that came out 3 years ago and 2 years ago, and I'll tell you what, DC has got some fabulous artists working on these, and I'll tell you what, these are going to be some of the hottest cards out on the market right now, if you can find them. The set will probably be quite costly if you're trying to buy the whole set or buy the box, but I think in the long run these are definitely going to be worth it, because I know the Marvel Masterpieces skyrocketed in price and they're tough to find. So I would check these out and definitely buy a pack, and if you like them, pick up a whole set. I like them. And that's it on cards.
Today I'm reviewing another new book. This is called Comics Values. It's the 93-94 annual, put out by Comics Values Monthly. It's edited by Alex G. Malloy. It's $15.95. Now, broke down, this is basically an Overstreet annual, same type of book, and they have it broken into different sections. There's a DC section with all DC books, and there's Marvel, Golden Age, Black and White, British Comics, Independent, Underground, and each is broke down in their own section instead of having just one giant alphabetical. I don't especially think that's the greatest way to set this up, but it does give you an idea of where they classify different books. Comics Values Monthly will be releasing this book every year, but it'll come out 6 months after Overstreet's, which means every 6 months there will be a brand new annual, because Overstreet will release theirs, 6 months later CVM will release theirs. There's lots of stories related to collecting and different segments like Underground and Independence sparse throughout the book, and it's a pretty nice book. I mean, it's compared to Overstreet, it's probably very similar, but it's a nice book, and you might want to check this one out if you're sick of Overstreet and their pricing. Hello and welcome to Classic Comics. I am your host for this feature, which is, by the way, the best feature of this show. I must say so, if I must say so. This show I have for your enjoyment, Air Fighters #2 from Hillman Periodicals, dated November 1942. This book has the first appearance of one of the top aviation features, also marked Hillman's first successful title. Engaging Origin. The Engaging Origin featured air-minded monk who designed and built the premier imaginary aircraft in all of comics. At the controls of this unusual bat-winged ornithopter, dubbed Birdie, was the youth who would become known as Airboy. He managed to make the standard garb of the pilot's goggles, scarf, flight jacket, et al. Look as if they were designed expressly for him. Thoughtful scripting and complementary art from Caniff propelled this feature through the war years and beyond, lasting 11 years. Eclipse Comics revived Airboy in the 1980s for a short run. Air Fighter Comics #2 is worth $217 in good condition, and while in near mint condition, it can command up to $1,300.
The MC announces as they enter.
Tonight, the Angel of Death Cafe presents Lounge Lizard and his band, Messiah Bandidos, singing I Used to Be on Morphine, but lately cocaine's been my friend.
I used to be on morphine, but lately cocaine's been my friend. Yeah, I just can't wait for my own end. Trapman, what's
the matter? You look like a corpse sprayed with water.
That singer, the one wearing the sex linkage t-shirt, Lounge Lizard. That's Rat Boy. He must have used the pathway through the sewer system to get on stage.
Grim gravity trap, man. What now?
Before the daring duo know it, the song is over, the entertainer's gone, and in their place, a graphic hologram that reads, "Self-destruction is exciting, and it's available to anyone." A bitter waiter with a bony body and yellow eyeballs presents Trapman with a bill for $200 and says,
Pay or perish.
Trapman's eyes spin like gyros. He glances at the waiter's name tag, then suddenly detonates.
Listen, dollhead, if you think I'm paying $200 for 2 end-of-the-world copies and a chocolate cannoli, you got another thing coming.
Trapman drives a fist into Dollhead's jaw like a stake into a tree. Blood gushes from his ears like a volcano, and it gives his IRS We Will Bury You t-shirt a deep red decor. But just before an extra-large bottle of Never-Sink River water buys Trapman a round-trip ticket to oblivion, he turns and notices a poster on a dirty wall out of the corner of his eye. It reads,
Girl, wanted for love, dead or alive.
As the bottle glances off Trapman's head, Joey realizes that he's got to get him out of there before it's too late. So swimming in anger and dancing while a gun is fired, he forces his way back to Car World, only to turn once over his shoulder and shout,
Stop taking narcotics!
Then with a sudden burst of speed, like a runner toward the end of a race, he bolts for the drug-free zone at the edge of Crack Alley.
Okay, and that's it for this week's show again. So, like we say each and every week, next time you purchase a comic book, read it. Take care of it. Just don't throw it on a shelf. Value it, because it's going to value you later in life. But next time you purchase one, next time you patronize your local comic shop, tell them you've seen it on COMX-TV. See ya.
Spider-Man, Superman, they're all coming right to you. Random Bart, Archie too, they will all be here for you on Comics, Comics, Comics TV, Comics, Comics, Comics TV. Fantasy and enemy, what's it gonna be now? Alternative, mainstream too, here every week for you on Comics, Comics, Comics TV, Comics, Comics, Comics TV.